Howdy folks, I'm Fragrant Fermium, furiously funneling feisty fennel.
I'm Amber.
And here's more feisty fennel for us to funnel. I don't really understand what would make fennel feisty, Amber. All I can figure is that it's actually like fennel with arms and legs and it's like angry that we're funneling it.
Probably, that seems about right.
Alright, so there you have it folks. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Telling My Boyfriend That I Own the Building That We Live In? Hi, obviously a throwaway for privacy. Also, new to posting, so hopefully I do this correctly. When I was 18, my dad gifted me a house with 2 stories. I'm extremely thankful. We are not upper class, but my dad bought this house for cheap a long time ago. It was his grandmother's cousin's house. I know that this was an extremely privileged thing, and I'm forever grateful for this. The layout of the building is like an apartment, but it's a house. So basically, each story has its own separate entry, its own kitchen, and own bathroom. I live upstairs while I rent out the downstairs. My boyfriend, a 25-year-old male, moved in with me about 3 months ago, and we have been together for 6 months. I have not asked him for money, neither for utilities or to pay me any rent. The only thing that he contributes is groceries. That we split 50-50. I have not brought up the fact that I own the building, as it's not something that I tell many people. If people ask me, I of course tell them that I own it, but if they just assume that I'm a renter, then they can believe that. The topic of the landlord, the renter downstairs, or the owner of the building has not been something that we've talked about. This last Tuesday, the renter came up to me to tell me that the freezer had stopped working. I answered the door, and my boyfriend heard us talking. I went downstairs and I looked, and we came to the conclusion that she would have to buy a new one, send me the receipt, and I would give her the money. She was very grateful for the solution. When I went upstairs, my boyfriend asked me if it could be fixed, and I told him no. But she was going to have to buy a new one, and I would pay for it. He looked at me like I was crazy and asked why I would pay for her freezer. I told him because I'm her landlord and the freezer was there when she started renting. I would stand for the cost. He just asked me if I was serious, to which I said I was. He began screaming at me, asking why I would hold this information from him and that I am an evil person. I said that I was sorry for not telling him, but I did not think that it would matter. He said that he could not believe that he was together with someone who was a landlord, that all of us are just people who use people for money, and that the only thing that we people care about is money, and would rather have people be homeless than offering affordable rent. The downstairs is 1 kitchen, 1 bath, and 4 other rooms. I charge $500 in rent. I understand many people have had trouble with landlords, but I try my best to be a good one. He demanded that I give him 50% of the money that I make from rent, or else I was just as bad as he thought. Was I really the jerk for not telling him? He has not talked to me since Tuesday, and I have tried telling him that I'm truly sorry, but he won't answer me. Edit obligatory edit to add that I certainly did not expect this to blow up the way that it did. I have tried to read as much as I can, and thank you all for your advice and support. I have talked with him, and I will update later tonight when I have the time to process everything that went down and try to write it out as best as I can. For people who were worried about my safety, I called my dad, who sat outside in his car while I talked with my boyfriend, and I'm safe as of right now. I hope that it will continue to be that way. Thank you again to everyone. Edit 2, update posted. Sorry for the rushed update and the weird writing. It is explained in my update as to why. Thanks yet again. Alright folks, there is an update to this post, but it's a very long one, and it's kind of rambly, so I think we'll just kind of summarize it here. The crux of it is that they broke up.
Yeah, he just continued being outrageous and like, oh, I totally don't want this money for selfish reasons. How dare you suggest that?
So, if you want me to read this one later, I'll read it for you. But, so what do you folks think? Jerk or not the jerk?
No, I don't think OP's being the jerk. While it might have been, nice to tell him earlier on, like, I don't feel like it's essential to know, and it could be dangerous to let him know so soon. And his behavior is completely unacceptable here. So, like, whether or not she should have told him, like, maybe not, I don't know. I think that's an open question, but the way he is like, oh, landlords are all greedy jerks, give me half your rental income or this isn't fair, is
Yeah, the fact that he was demanding the money is really peculiar to me. It seems like he saw this as an opportunity to kind of like pull on OP's heartstrings and as a way to extort them out of money.
Well, and like he's not paying any rent or utilities. Like he never questioned why she wasn't asking for rent or utilities. So I feel like in some respects it's on him.
Yeah, I think that this is a odd situation. I'm not sure why he would expect to be paid from OP's, earnings here. And it's good that OP is trying to do good by their tenants, right? Because there are a lot of landlords who have very bad reputations, and it's easy to get a bad reputation as a landlord. So I'm glad that OP is not a bad landlord and is doing right by their tenants.
And I'm also glad that OP and her boyfriend broke up because this does not sound like a healthy relationship.
No, well, he started screaming at her. He started arguing and fighting her, and I think that that is not certainly a good way to communicate. I can understand his frustration to find out that she's the landlord.
Right, and I'd understand it more if he actually seemed to have an objection, like, because there are a lot of really bad landlords, and so I can understand some people being upset on principle.
Yeah.
But the way he's like, oh, now you have to give me money, it's clear that he's just being opportunistic here.
Yeah. So, again, like, I think that he just saw dollar signs when he found out that OP had this property, and he just wanted some kind of way of being like, oh, if you pay me, then I'll stay here. But again, like, if he's so worried about exploitation, then why would he exploit his partner? It just doesn't make any sense. And the thing is that OP rents to like an individual inside her own house, which I think is a little bit of a different situation than somebody who goes out and buys out like all the properties in a neighborhood, and then that way it drives up the prices of the rentals, right?
Right, exactly. Like this isn't taking, because OP lives in the house anyway. It's not like it's even taking houses off the market that people would otherwise use.
So I think this is a very different and fine situation. So let me know what you folks think, though. Anyhow, take care and good luck. And File Inside says, as his landlord, you should demand rent. And OP replies, I posted an update if anyone's interested. Sorry if it's lacking or seemed rushed. It truly was. Thanks, everyone. And OP also says, I'm currently at work. I don't live in the US, so different time zones. To those who have been supportive, thank you. After all of your comments, I think that this relationship needs to come to an end, but I will try and talk to him today or tomorrow to see what he says. To those that think that I made this up, trust me when I say that I wish it was. I can't speak for why he said the things or that contradict each other that only he can give an answer to. Ending the relationship should not be that hard emotionally, even though I've grown to like him. Seeing and realizing what you've done to help me, the emotions that you can gather in 6 months are easy to overcome. Alright folks, and speaking of landlords, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Ruining My Cousin's Honeymoon After Not Being Invited to Our Wedding? I'm a 27-year-old female, and I have a cousin who's a 27-year-old female. We'll call her Kathy, fake names, who got married last weekend. For some background, 2 years ago I inherited a cabin in the mountains from my maternal grandmother after she died. This is not the grandmother that Kathy and I share. It's a peak mountain town with lots of activities all year round. For the first year, I lived in it, fixing it up to eventually rent it out as an Airbnb. During that time, Kathy would visit periodically and stay with me. Once I moved out of the place and placed it on Airbnb, she would continue to ask for a week or so to stay in the cabin when it wasn't peak season. She loved it so much, she asked if she could use it as her honeymoon location. I told her yes, and I blocked out the dates on Airbnb for her honeymoon, which would have been this week. I told her congratulations and that I'd stockpiled the Airbnb with a bunch of romantic stuff, candles, rose petals, etc. as her wedding gift. She was excited. This was back in May. However, 3 months ago, I got a call from my aunt. Apparently, my whole family and I weren't invited to the wedding. We were shocked, as we would have assumed that we would be coming. My aunt told us that my cousin said that she doesn't really know us all that well, and that we weren't there for her childhood. We do live in different states. We didn't hear from my aunt or cousin again. Instead, for the weekend for Halloween, my family and I changed our plane tickets. They weren't refundable, and skipped a major snowstorm in our hometown to live it up in Florida for a week. This is where I might be the jerk. For a while, I considered just leaving everything alone, but as November 1st, ski season starts, and it would be a big week. Honestly, I needed the money. So a week after I was told that I wasn't invited, I decided to text Kathy that I was going to remove her reservation from my Airbnb unless she wanted to pay for the dates. I never got a response. No, she didn't block me. I can see the text went through. I texted her one more time about 2 months before putting my Airbnb back online for that week. No response. It booked within 24 hours. The day of the wedding, she texted me and asked me when she could expect the cabin to be ready. I texted her back and I told her months prior that I was going to rent it out to somebody unless she paid. It's already booked and unavailable. To say that she was mad is an understatement. She cried and called me a jerk. This was supposed to be my wedding gift to her, she yelled. I told her that only invited guests are supposed to give guests and that strangers always have to pay to use my Airbnb. Now she is calling out my family as jerks for being butthurt about not having an invite. She's using her excuse that we weren't there during her childhood and that she deserved to use the cabin. My immediate family thinks that I did nothing wrong, but the rest of my family thinks that I should give in. I agree that it was a petty move, but am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I don't understand why she feels entitled to this cabin when you're not close. Like, either you're close enough to go to a wedding and to borrow the cabin, or you're not close enough for either.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's really what this boils down to. She can't have her cake and eat it too. I understand weddings get expensive, and I think if she had said something more like, I wanted a really small wedding and not invite a lot of people, that might have been a little bit more understandable. But to be outright, oh, you're not invited because we're not close is, I think, not a good way to endear yourself with other people.
Well, and, this was going to be a really, I'm guessing that OP rents this Airbnb probably for good money. So it was going to be probably a very big boon to her. So any money she would have spent on OP's plate at the wedding, she would have recouped in saved honeymoon costs anyway.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily even a great excuse as is. And I just think the entitlement here is really gross.
Well, and I mean, I certainly understand OP being hurt. And I also understand the cousin being hurt. But she was given plenty of forewarning that this was going to happen. She saw the messages, at least OP is pretty sure she did. And a lot of phones will have, whether or not someone has seen or read the message. Yeah, it'll
say read if the other person has read it.
So I think that this is one of those cases where if she wanted to use it, then she should have spoken up. And it sounds like she was just going to pretend like she didn't see it and then be upset and offended at the end and try to push OP into letting her use it. Because then she could be like, well, you promised me, and now blah, blah, blah. So, I feel bad for OP.
Yeah, same. And again, if you are not that close to someone, why would they give you this extravagant wedding gift? It just baffles my mind.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care, and good luck. And relevant birthday 516 says, not the jerk. You gave her plenty of notice and even offered an option of paying for the dates. Her lack of organization is not your problem. Where was she during your childhood? Estrangement can be a two-way street. And in this case, I'd be asking, where did she engage with me during that same time period? And OP replies, we are not estranged. We live in different states, and we would see them every year over the winter holidays. My dad and her mom are siblings, and prior to this, they would talk every single week. It actually really hurt my dad that he and my mom weren't at least invited, as he wanted the opportunity to see his whole family together again. That's really sad. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a jovial Bobstein joke.
What is a vampire's favorite city?
Oh, I can tell you exactly what a vampire's favorite city is. It's one where the sun never comes up.
Great Neck, Long Island.
Great Neck, Long Island? I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? That Long Island is a place where the sun doesn't come up, I'm sure. And I have Mega Mint. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Manic Monday! I hope the start of your week is going well. Folks, I have written here that the live stream is on November 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. But that no longer corresponds to 10 p.m. UTC. I think it's now 11 p.m. UTC.
I think so.
So make sure to check your time zone because, daylight savings time did not happen this year.
Yeah, sadly.
Well, it was supposed to, and I'm really disappointed because it passed the Senate like with unanimously, right? And it was heading to the House, and we were like, oh, it's gonna pass there unanimously too. But they just have sat on it for a whole long time at this point in time. So now I'm disgruntled with the House. So yeah, make sure to check your time. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it in the form of a thing that nobody wants but everyone has to do.
I think, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people would like it if you were just given money for free. But it's not fair to demand that your partner just give you half their salary because reasons.
Yeah. I guess that works. I guess that very loosely works.
I tried. There was an attempt.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.